Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so honored to have an amazing panel today so that you may learn a lot about financial literacy. And as you know, I have written this book called Build Your Nest Egg, Discover the Magic of Money and Investing. And it is the basics of money, which you really need to know so that you can make wise decisions. And the people who are on this panel will support you in making wise decisions and showing you how to build your wealth, which is super important because you build your whole life. It's not something you do today and then in a few years you've got what you want. It's something you start with when you're about 3 years old. Well, actually, you start with when you say, I want that in the grocery store, when you're being pushed around in the grocery basket. That's when you start saying you want to do something with money. And that's when your financial literacy would normally start if parents knew actually how to explain that to you. So we're working on breaking that cycle. But we have this amazing group whom I will introduce in a minute. I have this quote which fits what we are talking about today. Every time you state what you want or believe, you are the first one to hear it. And that is Oprah Winfrey. And you know what an amazing woman she is. So keep that in mind, all right? That's how all ideas begin, and you're always the first to hear it. So just real short, and Joel and each will offer a little bit more when they introduce themselves. But Joel brings a unique ability to create win-win ecosystems that generate lasting value for clients and partners alike. He serves as the Director of Revenue and Partnership Growth at Heritage IRA, and he has over 15 years of experience. And Joel and I have known each other for quite a number of years. Joel, wave to everyone. Lisa, wave to everyone. So let me put my glasses on. Lisa Chalker is an investment advisor representative and certified financial educator serving clients in all 50 states. She owns an independent financial agency powered by a national platform, which lets her partner with 200 plus top investments and insurance companies to build custom, unbiased strategies for retirement planning, income protection, debt solution, and college funding, which I think it's always a good idea for kids to go to college because you never know what's going to happen with them. And where did you go? Tara. Oh, we love Tara. Tara is a financial architect and founder of Position Yourself Wealth Strategies LLC. She's passionate about helping you to achieve predictable financial stability. Her clients experience this through her transformational mentorship program using a tailored strategic blueprint that allows you to break free from the outdated financial advice and from money cycles that keep you stuck. Welcome, welcome, all of you. Welcome, welcome. We're so thrilled to have you here. So, I would like you each to take just a couple of minutes and introduce you to our attendees, which are David, Kristen. Oh, Kristen's here, and and Katiana. Oh, Katiana. Katiana is one of our speakers today also. So Katiana, let's start with you because I don't have a little bio on you. I know you come from a different aspect than everyone else. So Katiana, this is Joel, Lisa, and Tara, who are also your panelists.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Peggy. I actually just sent you my bio on the chat. I'm so sorry. I was running late today and I didn't get to send it. So, hello, everybody. My name is Katiana Carre. I'm the founder of Sawa Sawa, a financial wellness company dedicated to helping women understand their relationship with money, right? Take control of their relationship with money and also demystify the world of investing. A lot of women are intimidated by the world world of investing because it's full of jargon and things that are scary, but I make it to where it's digestible. So I'm excited to be here with everyone.
Thank you so much. So, Lisa, do you have something to add to about your what you're doing and your
Well, what I am is a big proponent of financial literacy, which is what drew us together, right, Peggy, on a networking call. I think that when you understand how money works and how to make it work for you, you're now able to make more informed decisions. And I came into that education later in life. I know what it's like to miss decades of that information and to feel insecure as you're getting older. Nobody really cares about dying at that point. It's, am I going to outlive my income in retirement, right? Am I going to live too long and have to rely on my family? And I always say that nobody's family should be their financial retirement strategy. Not fair. So.
Agreed, totally agreed. My mother was afraid she was going to outlive her money. So, Joe, you're going to go last because you went first before. So, Tara, give us a little bit more about your background, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in financial services for quite a long time, not only in my business, but also in the banking industry, and have been an entrepreneur for close to 2 decades now. So I really understand the complex financial ecosystem and landscape that especially entrepreneurs have to go through. It's a delicate balance between work and personal when you run a business. And that just further complicates the financial landscape. And so I'm really, really passionate about helping driven, high achieving women in particular, but I always add the caveat and the men who love them. We don't discriminate. We want to make sure that we help everybody, but I'm very passionate about helping women too in that way in order to have that confidence and that clarity in the financial decisions that they make.
Thank you very, very much. And Joel is an expert in his field. He's been doing this for 15 years, and we love IRAs. Thank God for IRAs.
That's right. Yeah, IRAs and retirement accounts in general are super powerful tools. And, the ladies that are on today that are going to be sharing their insights and their resources tie nicely into this financial tool. I think about all of the individuals that I've interacted with over the years and uh, the joy and kind of the excitement that they feel when they can take their retirement funds and do something beyond the traditional retirement strategy. It just kind of broadens that opportunity for them for further diversification, and they feel good about it. It would help people like your mom, Peggy, feel more confident about not outliving her retirement. So I love self-directed retirement accounts and tools, and there's a lot of them out there. And I want everybody to just know what's available to them so that if it fits into their strategy, great.
Mhm.
Let's have a conversation. If it doesn't, no problem.
That's great. Thank you so very, very, very much. Yeah, so my next question is actually the question is when clients come to you asking for your support, what is it? What do they know about financial literacy? Do they come like nobody ever taught them anything, or do they come because they've got some knowledge, or they've been brought up in a family that actually spoke to them and helped them realize that having a conversation with you was super important? So, Tara, why don't you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So the clientele that I work with actually spans quite a wide variety, all the way from just getting started on their financial journey, all the way to sophisticated and accredited investors. But definitely something that is a common thread between all of them is that it is an education that they did not receive
Mhm.
growing up. They didn't receive it from their family. It's all something that either they have cobbled together over the years, which I think is what most people do, right? Yeah, I mean that's what I was doing and what I was trying to do until I got introduced to the space that I'm in now. And And then, maybe they've taken courses, they've followed financial gurus, they've, done different types of things and gotten to the space that they're in, but they still feel like something is missing. So whether that is that they're finding themselves stuck in repeating patterns that they just can't seem to break or get out of, or it's just something like they've hit this ceiling and they can see through it. They know there's something on the other side, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to get there. That's what I love. I love working with clients because they're hungry and they're looking for something to better themselves in their financial space. So I love that.
That's great. Thank you very much. Lisa.
Yeah, so probably Tara and I have a lot of the same kind of mindsets, but most of my clients, I work with individuals, families, and I also work with businesses. So if we look at the individuals and the families at a separate part, they come in with bits and pieces of knowledge, right? How many people Google and ask their friends and family, and I'm on Facebook and I see groups where like, what are you doing for this? And that always makes me stressed because everybody's situation is different, and it isn't one of those questions you blast out on a Facebook post. But maybe they've heard about 401ks or IRAs, life insurance, or things like that, but their information is very scattered and they don't have a clear understanding of how all the pieces connect. And so my job is to be that hand holder to show them, how do we protect that income you've worked so hard for? How do we reduce the debt, build wealth, plan for retirement? But most important, most of my clientele is coming with a clear thing that they want to make money, but they don't want to lose the money. They don't want to keep having it in the stock market for loss. And so I'm able to build wealth protection plans with them. And they often know what they should be doing, but they just don't have the clarity or the confidence to make that plan and follow it. So I help them do that. And when it comes to businesses, it's even less knowledge. I call myself a multipreneur. I have a marketing company for over 2 decades. And the first 15 years before I started learning how the money works, I was just horrible in my finances with my business. And so it drives me as a passion to help other small business owners learn options where they can minimize their taxes, ease liquidation in case they pass away, so their family doesn't have a burden from the business. And if they're small business owners, how do you implement a retirement plan that's hopefully as tax-free as possible? So that's what I'm seeing from a client's first meeting with me.
And I think Joel will be able to help with some of that. So Joel, explain a little bit about, how when people come to you, are they coming to you because they already know what they want to invest in, or do they have any knowledge about it, or do they come to you saying, I've just heard about this thing called a Roth or a IRA? What is it?
Yeah, for sure. So most of the time when I'm interacting with an individual, I'm kind of that second step in their financial process. They've already had that first step with Tara or with Katiana. They've really, in a way, uncovered what needs they might have, and then ultimately what solutions they need to move forward. And I would be one of those financial solutions. I'm one of those embedded financial tools to help them, distribute tax-free in retirement because they chose to leverage a Roth IRA to invest in private placement. I wanted to make a mention that in a lot of cases, the individual is ready to break a cycle that they've been a part of for so long. And it's usually that very traditional institutional cycle, right? Let me make company contributions with my income in my company sponsored 401k and invest it in Wall Street. Very, very traditional. Nothing wrong with that per se. But, when individuals start interacting with Tara or Lisa, they start recognizing that there's a better way to feel better prepared. So I get in touch with them. I help them break that cycle. I'm complementary to the strategies that Katiana puts together with her clients. And usually, Peggy, the individual is ready to take action. They've already had the conversations. Maybe they just have some lingering situational questions that they need answers to. So we're almost ready. We're on the cusp to take action the moment we have that phone call. Of course, it might be a phone call or two before they feel really good about making that step, but they're ready to go. And in most cases, they've even identified an asset class or a particular investment to take their Roth IRA and invest, or maybe they're ready to make a contribution as a small business owner, defer some of the taxes, and go invest that in private lending. So that's kind of where I fit into this life cycle for the individual.
What about 401ks? Do you still work with that for the business
Oh,
owner?
yes. Yeah, you know, I think about a client that might be interacting with Lisa. They're putting together a strong small business strategy to scale their business, prepare for, you know, a legacy transition, maybe even prepare for their retirement. I would fit into that conversation with Lisa and her client because I now have that solo 401k document and the record keeping software so that they can make the contributions, roll over existing retirement funds from an IRA, make profit sharing contributions. So yes, we have that powerful tool for the small business individual that's eligible for it.
That's great. And do the business owners know how to run that when they come to you? Are they already educated on that, or is that your job?
That's a really good question. So in most cases, the small business individual is ready to invest their funds. They're ready to roll over and invest. They may need more ongoing support when it comes to contributions, conversions over time. Maybe they want to do a discounted Roth conversion with their pre-tax money. A lot of that is those conversations and those strategies are embedded in the support that we offer, and it also aligns with the support that Tara is offering her client as well in their coaching conversations. So we do like to intersect and work well with CPAs, tax advisors. In fact, those are the professionals that actually send their clients to us most often because they're already having that conversation about, okay, how could we really mitigate your tax burden, or how could we leverage some of the losses you're going to take this year to convert some of your pre-tax money and invest it in an alternative asset. So we really, really work together, again, to just offer that individual who's looking for the maximum benefits with a retirement account.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
Katiana, you work with a lot of women who don't feel so secure, you said, about money. And so what kind of knowledge do they have when they come to you?
Yeah, it's interesting. The demographic that I work with are usually the first in their family to have hit, their income level. We're looking at about that 150, 250K range. So we're looking at attorneys, physicians, C-suite level corporate individuals, and they've done everything right. They've gone to school, got the degree, and they reach the six figures, that aspirational six figures, and they're the first in their family, but they feel intimidated to go get help because they feel like I should already have this figured out, or I'm not qualified to work with an advisor because I don't have enough money. So where I come in is, number one, I educate, and then also two, I dig deep into the self-worth aspect, right? The mindset aspect of, hey, it's not so bad. You don't need to live in shame and all of that guilt, and it's fixable, right? So, my clients, they know they need help, but they're intimidated. So I'm the one who makes them feel safe. Okay. And so now when they start to feel safe in getting the help, receiving the help, now they start to get excited about investing. And so they want to learn what they don't know. They know the stock market already because they have some sort of 401k or 403b with their job, but they want to learn the alternative investments like Joel focuses on. They want to learn about real estate, private placements, and private lending, and so on and so forth, private equity. And so I come in and I tell them, here's what it is, and here's here's A, here's B, here's C. And now that you know what it is, now you can go get some help. Now you don't feel so intimidated, and now you can actually participate. So I hope that answered the question.
Oh, yeah, no, that's really great. I thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? David, for any chance, or Ethan, have some questions that you might want to ask while we're between questions? David, you're muted.
I guess the only question, I have a 401k that was rolled into a IRA Roth. So, once it's in there, I guess you just leave it there and it just, it earns interest. Is that right?
It doesn't grow though, unless you invest it.
Yeah,
But
do you want me
Joel's,
to?
Joel's the expert on that.
I don't know about the expert, but David, what I thought of, as you were sharing that was, okay, you've moved your company sponsored funds into a Roth IRA. You're sitting in a really, really nice position, David, to grow that, just like Peggy said, tax free, while you're still either waiting to distribute. Maybe your plans are to distribute in a year or 5 years or 10 years. I would maximize whatever that time is that you have left and look for opportunities to grow it tax free, because you really won't get this chance again. You won't get this chance again to sit on money that you can invest and not pay taxes on. That just almost doesn't exist outside of what you're sitting on right now. So step one might be connecting with Tara and saying, hey, I've got this Roth balance. I don't know what to do with it right now. I might have some ideas. And I guarantee you, any one of these ladies would have that conversation with you and let you know, like, hey, you've got options A, B, and C. Now go get that financial tool that's going to allow you to invest in A, B, or C, because it's likely, David, that your Roth IRA, just going to go out on a limb, isn't going to allow you to invest in those alternatives like I'm talking about. Maybe it's just sitting in like a brokerage Roth IRA, or even an IRA savings account, which might be earning nominal interest at this point. But if you feel after those first conversations that you're ready to move it into something that's alternative, that's where I would come into play.
Could I pipe in here?
Yes, go right ahead.
So David, my first question would normally be is how much of that money do you want to protect against loss?
Oh, against loss?
Mhm.
I mean, most of it.
So what my first thing, what my process is that we do an assessment, because I have to ask you questions to know what you want that money to do. Because then I'm gonna say, well, this vehicle, it's a whole bunch of different vehicles and the pros and the cons of each vehicle, because nothing's perfect. There's nothing that's perfect out there. And then once you know the pros and the cons, then you can make a decision from an informed state, because most people think there's only certain amount of vehicles because that's all the industry is showing them. But there's other vehicles that you might be able to utilize that's more in line with risk tolerance, what your goals are, time horizon, and what you actually want it to do. And that would be something for a one-on-one call assessment so that I could see where you are, where you need to be, and how do I get you there as quickly, safely, and as tax-free as possible. So that would be my branch of attack.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been doing for the last 27 years. So, all right. Tara, sorry. Yeah, Tara, Katiana, do you have a comment on this by any chance?
Yeah, I believe the question was, okay, it was rolled over into an IRA and is it growing, right? So the first thing we want to do is you want to look at your account and see what has been the average return, right? To see, is there, if you're looking at around 8-12%, it's probably invested, because if it was invested into mutual funds in the 401k, a lot of times it transfers into your IRA. So it might still be in those mutual funds and still be growing. But sometimes it is transferred as cash. So it might just be sitting inside of a money market that's probably giving you 1 or 2%. So I would call the brokerage account that you have, and ask them, is this inside of a mutual fund? Is this money being invested in a mutual fund, or is it in a money market account? And that will kind of answer your question of whether it's growing or not, right? And
Okay,
then sit with,
I think it is a mutual fund.
it's a mute. Okay, yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, but that's stock.
Yeah. I would just add, first off, congratulations, David, on making that kind of a move. It's like, that's one of the things that, like Peggy, when she introduced me, I help people break free from traditional types of strategies and thinking and things like that. So moving over into an IRA, a self-directed IRA, fantastic. Like that is a great step in the right direction. Now it's a matter of taking a look at what you want that money to do, right? You know, because there's lots of different strategies that are out there, lots of different places that we can put that money. But we need to get clear on what the goal of that money is first and foremost, and then set the rules up for it, right? So that we know that whatever financial decision that we're making is in harmony and in alignment with what we want that money to do. And then that way it's going to become a really easy decision that when it's like, I want to deploy it here, I want to put it there, I want X amount in the market, but X amount not in the market. It makes it really easy for you to maximize the efficiency and the power of a really fantastic vehicle that you have that money in. So kudos to you on making that move.
Yeah, it's really great, really smart. So congratulations. The next question is, what are the best questions a future client could ask you? Katiana.
Oh, okay. A future client can ask me, how can I maximize my money? Kind of like what Tara was saying, aligned with Lisa and Joel as well. You know, I like to teach my clients diversify, diversify, diversify. I tell this joke all the time. I paid 60K for my master's, and all I learned was diversify, 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 right? So the women that I work with, they know the stock market. That's all they know, right? And so I would like for them to ask me, outside of the stock market, what else is out there, right? And how do I protect myself when the market is down? Because that is a bad rap that the market has. Oh, wait till the market crashes. Yeah, but then us stock investors, we just buy the dip. We're excited about this dip, but not everyone has the capacity to buy the dip or have time to wait for the market to go back up, right? So they do need that diversification. So yeah, the best question would be is, outside of the stock market, what else is out there, Kat?
Okay, great. Thank you. And Tara, you're still here in front of us.
Yep. I guess the best question that clients have asked me is it's very similar to what Katiana just said, but what don't I know? One of my current clients was like, I know a lot about money, but I know you know stuff that I don't, and I want to know that, you know? And so that education, that information has such a tangible value because none of us can know everything, right? All of us are trying to better ourselves. That's why we're here today. That's why we network with other like-minded people. That's why we go to coaches and mentors in order to better ourselves. And so the best question to ask, not only in this, but in everything, is what do I not know and who can I go to get that information?
Thank you. And Lisa, what's a great question that someone could ask you?
Well, one of the three money principles that I teach right away is that, I want them to ask me, how can I get my money to grow as fast as possible? Because where we put our money makes a huge difference as to what we keep in our pockets, what we put in our pockets. But more importantly, if I help somebody accumulate money, but I don't help them protect it against loss, I want them to know, how can I protect this against loss? That's number two, because if I don't protect the money, you can be getting a $1.5 million portfolio, but if you don't protect it against loss, you don't have that 1 point. It's an illusion, is what I say to them. And then finally, how can I be as tax advantaged as possible? Because I always ask, how do you want to distribute your wealth, either for yourself in retirement or upon your passing to your beneficiaries? Do you want to give them a big tax bill or little to no tax bill? Because all those questions are going to help me drive what vehicles that we're going to put something in. And then I'm able to, get them through and put them in those vehicles so I can give them a peace of mind. And that's what I want to know, is how do I grow it as quickly? How does I protect it? And how do I get as tax advantage as possible?
Thank you. And before you go, Joel, I have a little story. Our last investor who went into a apartment complex investment had all these questions for the sponsors. He wanted to see what a K1 looked like, because his strategy is for the deductions which you get in real estate when you're invested. You get this K1, and it's always a negative, and he wanted it to be a really big negative because he wanted to roll his traditional IRA into his Roth IRA.
Tina Chong.
So he wanted to know what that amount was going to be, so he could set up his strategy for the IRA, for the Roth IRA. So tell us what a great question would be from your.
For sure. Yeah. I love that that individual's question. He's obviously, putting a lot of thought into his tax situation and his strategy. And it's a very common practice. A lot of people will couple that with the discounted Roth conversion. So they're getting a far, a smaller tax burden, when they're investing in alternatives with a pre-tax account that they're converting. So I love that, because it's actually really common. But it's funny. I thought I would just narrow it down to one question that I think would solve a lot of like time and energy, and get somebody either moving along in the process quicker. And that would be, Joel, when is it most profitable for me to roll over my funds to self-direct? And I know that's like really like straightforward and like to the facts, but it really does make a difference if you know what that threshold is. And what I mean is, if David wanted to roll over funds to a self-directed account, what's that minimum amount of money that he should roll over for it to really pay off for him? I've been doing this specifically for 8 years, and I feel like the $50,000 mark is the money maker. If you have $50,000 and you're ready to roll it over, that's when you can really make your decision profitable, because there's going to be an expense. You've got to pay to play in this self-directed industry. But from the experience that I've witnessed, if you have that or more, it really does pay off for you as an investor.
Great. Yes, it does. Ask me how I know.
Yeah,
But I didn't ever think about the K1 as a strategy.
for
So it's
sure.
really great that I got taught something from one of my clients who, wants to get those tax advantages, which you don't get when you're in the Roth or any of the IRAs. You don't get those tax advantages anymore. So what? Do you want to pay the capital gain at the end, especially if you're doubling your money and you've put something in 5 years, let's say 100,000, and 5 years later, because you don't get to write that off over 5 years, that last sale, and that doubled your income, you owe taxes on it. So you don't in your Roth.
That's right. Yep. Great strategy. And yeah, again, David's sitting in a good spot right now because he's got Roth IRA money. I'd say, David, your next step is to call Lisa or Tara and say, hey, let's go. Let's have a conversation about how to make this work.
Yeah, or me.
Or Peggy.
We all work together. So yeah, actually. So I want to know if any of you have, because I hear you all supporting each other, which I think is really awesome, because we all are in the same. We want to educate people. We want to see their growth continue. And Lisa brought up the people want to invest and they want the money to earn fast, but fast can be very, very, very dangerous because of the risk. Because usually people that want it fast, they also want high. And high, if you're not doing your due diligence, I'm telling you, if you don't know who the sponsors are, if you haven't gone over your 80-point checklist before you invest in something, you don't know what you're stepping into. So I'd like that to be part of the conversation, because you are guiding people into other kinds of investments. What precautions do you advise your your clients to take before they invest in anything. Particularly, no offense, Katiana, you know I'm allergic to the stock market. The stock market. You know, if you want to invest in an apartment complex, let's say someone's got 500 doors and you've got a couple $100,000 you'd like to put in that, you can pick up the phone and call the sponsor and say, look, I have this question I saw your executive plan, but I've got this question. I don't really see how this is going to work, or whatever it may be. But Katiana, in the stock market, can I pick up the phone and talk to the CEO and ask them, look, I don't, these numbers just don't make sense to me. I don't see how you're going to make a profit. Is the CEO going to answer to me? How do I know I'm making a good investment if I'm investing in the stock market when I can't talk to the person that's in charge of making me feel secured? Can you answer that question?
Yes, I love that. I love that question because that's my bread and butter right there. So the first step is number one, knowing what the company does. I can't tell you how many times people ask me about a stock, and there's 4,000 stocks on the stock market, 8,000 worldwide. I don't know every one of them by heart. So I'll ask, what does the stock do? I don't know. Well, you're investing into something you don't know, right? So number one, I tell my students to go to Yahoo Finance. Super easy to use, right? It's not like Bloomberg and all these other websites that can be a little bit overwhelming. And literally click on profile, because when you're checking anybody out, the first thing you check out is their profile, right? What does the company do? We want to know that. How long have they been around, right? Is this company from the 2000s? If it's not at least 10 years old, we're moving on. We're not chasing anything, right? And also looking at the financial statements. I like to look at the cash flow statement. How much cash does this company have, right? I like to look at the income statement. We're looking at the assets and the liabilities, right? And I'm sorry, the balance sheet. And then the income statement, looking at the revenue and the expenses. So these are some of the core things. So we really dig deep into analyzing the company and then looking at their vision for the next 10 to 20 years. What are they working on? Right? If you look at Apple and Microsoft, not investment advice, they're really deep into AI. So a lot of people ask me, Kat, what's the next hot AI stock? Apple and Microsoft. They've been around forever and they're knee deep into that. So again, not investment advice, but I have a system, not an 80-point checklist, but I do have a system that I teach my students to go through to analyze the company. So that's number one, right? The second aspect is definitely diversify, right? You want to be talking to Lisa. You want to have some insurance in your portfolio. You want to be talking to Joel. You want to have alternative investments. When the market is down, your heart is not beating out of your chest, right? You want to talk to Tara and so on and so forth. You want to diversify the people around you as well. So I'm talking too much, but that's it in a nutshell. In a nutshell.
Oh, that's it. And Tara, what about you?
I like how you say you're allergic to the stock market. I am too. Yeah. So my passion lies in alternative assets as well, and insurance, and so really what it comes down to is really getting to know, the people and the company behind it. I agree with you. If you can't pick up the phone and find out information as close to the source as possible, that is a red flag, and it's something, maybe you're okay carrying that kind of risk. Again, that's where like establishing our financial playbook as to what rules we're going to follow when it comes to what we're doing with our money comes into play there. But yeah, definitely doing your background checks and doing different types of references and things along those lines in order to get to know the company, see the history of it, and really try to just get to know the people behind it, because it's something that, I mean, you're in the environment long enough, you're likely to get burned, right? But we want to minimize that risk. We want to take that off the table as much as possible by doing as much legwork as we can beforehand in order to mitigate that risk and protect from loss, for sure.
Yeah, and in the stock market there is something, I don't know if they all have it, but I've been reading about Bitcoin, and there's a white paper And I don't know if every company has a white paper, but the white paper has what the company's all about and what it's supposed to do, et cetera. But for me, the CEO is the most important. You got to do a background check on a CEO, and just because they bring a CEO in doesn't mean he's the right or she's the right person for that company. I know a company that was doing somebody I know actually was invested in Spain. The CEO, it was a phone company, was doing super well with it, and then he moved to a what's that stuff you put on your pain and it goes away for the temporarily and you use cannabis for it. That he went to a cannabis company and he failed. And he's CEO. They brought him in as CEO because he had this great background with another company. So you got, even if they just get in, you got to probably give them a couple years to see if they're tried and true, I would think.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
Lisa, what about you? You said you're the one that brought up that fast. I want it
Yeah,
fast.
I get clients. So my ideal client actually is not the risk taker. They're okay for other things. I really want to deal with the clients that want to mitigate those increases, those gains, but have that protection. And so when I look at clients, when they bring me their 401ks, that IRAs, whatever they're invested in, I have them look at these mutual funds because a lot of times they think they're diversified. Their financial planner tells them they're diversified. But when we go on, yes, Katiana, Yahoo Finance, because it's pretty as easy as we can, and I handhold them because most of them don't even go on themselves. They wouldn't even understand. But I show them that a lot of these mutual funds are overlapping. When we look at the holdings, you're having the same top 10 companies hold. So while you think you're having this mutual fund and that mutual fund, and wow, I'm diversified, when we open it up and we look at the contents of it, we're seeing so many overlapping. So you're really cutting down your diversification. And
Mhm.
then I want to show them, I want them to ask, what fees am I paying? Is this along with my risk tolerance? What protection against loss does that fee get me? Because I'm not against fees. I'm against fees when it's not getting you what you want. And then what kind of guarantee of income? Remember, we spoke about that before. A lot of people want to know they're not going to outlive their income in retirement. So when we look at that, these are the kind of things that we're focused. I don't like the stock market. I always say if the stock market was the end all be all these financial advisors would be in Aruba. They would have the thing, they would know the stocks. And I always say if they're not, if your financial advisor is still living on Long Island or wherever you are, and they're not in a mansion or whatever, they don't have the answers. When I tell them, when I put them in certain products like IRAs, Roth IRAs, I will always tell them I can't guarantee anything. You can have gains, you can have losses. I don't know because we never know how that stock market's going to react, when it's going to react, when it's going to self-correct. And that's a problem. So it's all about that conversation. And like all of us, I think, are very focused on individualization and not a cookie cutter solution. And finding out, talking, having those conversations and relationships with our clients to say, what do you want this to do? Where do you want to be? What's your risk tolerance? And let me match that and help you, guide you to that product. And then like I'm able to get them in the product, but let me guide you there so that you have that peace of mind.
Thank you very, very much. And Joel,
Yeah, love the comments. And I wrote down precautions, right? Like what would I recommend? And it kind of aligns with some of the other comments, but I would say communication. We've seen individuals be very successful with a self-directed retirement account and a strategy when they're consistently communicating with the people in their corner. They're always going to have kind of a team, if you will, whether it's, the financial coach, the self-directed retirement provider, and then of course, maybe the general partners of these syndications they're invested in. If you're having a consistent like cadence, if you will, on communication, those are the most successful investors. Those are the most successful individuals. So I would say build a cadence with your communication. And then lastly, don't set it and walk away. I've
uh,
seen individuals over time create something, do something, take action, and then it's like they set it and walk away. And I always say there's just so much missed opportunity, but in some cases turns around and bites them in the butt. Like maybe, they don't they could have potentially been better off if they left things where they were, because they just kind of got in and then walked away. So it does take a little bit of effort. The most successful people, whether it's even like financially successful or just like emotionally successful or like relationally successful, they take action. They maintain a decent cadence with action.
That's great. Yeah, you can't listen to them sit forever. You've
That's
got to
right.
keep your eyes on the ball. So even though we all said, Katiana, some of us all said, the thing about the stock market, there can be losses in alternatives also. People buy gold. Well, gold goes up, gold goes down, right? You go into real estate, if you're not looking at the opportunity, how they've scheduled it out on their pro forma based against their actuals, is that realistic? When someone tells me in, we'll say multifamily, because that's what most people invest in, that they're going to raise the rents $500, there's no way they cannot raise the rents $500. When you talk to them, oh, that's our overall goal. Well, then make your pro forma realistic and show what it is today, what you're going to raise. Because you go, oh, well, we're going to raise it like 3% each year over a 5-year period. Well, that's still not $500. So you've got to really, really get down and look at what anybody is offering. And then if you're a lender, you've got to make sure you've got security. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, I lent this person money. And I'm like, well, where's your documents? Oh, well, I didn't really get any documents. I'm like, well, what are you secured by? Well, I invested in the real estate. Well, are you registered against the property? No. I mean, the things that people do without asking the right questions is really scary. And guess what? They lose their money. And then are they ever going to pull up their bootstraps and invest again? I don't know. That's why they need people like you guys. All of you, you're all super important to the success of the individuals. And one of the reasons I wrote this book that I already told you about, if you were here when we first started talking, was if people start teaching their children at the age of 3 the basics of money and have them open it's me. This is just me. I think that each person should, the shoulds, start a long-term insurance policy that will even take care of them in old age when they are born, so that it will grow and they could be millionaires by the time they're 30, because it's got a cash value that you can borrow against and you can make that double grow. It's already compounding, which is unusual for most investments, but it compounds. Plus, you could borrow and make more. So that's your now money, because you can borrow from it any time. And when your kids are about 5, 6, depending, they know how to push a broom, sweep. You hire them working for your company and you have them make enough money that they can open, with Joel here, a Roth IRA for the future. So they also have to earn enough to pay their taxes on that, because whatever it keeps changing, 6,000 or 65 or 100 or whatever it is, so they can pay the taxes on that. And then they have two places they could borrow money and put it together and invest in something. And I'm still working out a way where on the insurance policies, they don't have to pay capital gain because they're actually lending the money to the IRA that's doing the investment. So working that one out, haven't got it worked out yet, but getting that worked out. And look, if you do that, your kids can pay their own way through college, buy their own house, buy their own car, like all of that. And then they've got retirement later where and look at the choices they have. They could do anything they want because they never have to worry about where the money's going to come from, because they've always got that backup. And of course, you don't want them to do nothing. You want them to be successful. That's why you taught them from the age of 3. You brought them into your own company, or you showed them the world and what's out there and all the different things they could do. And all that is teaching them the basics of money and setting up some things that really didn't cost that much to do, because you taught your kids to stand on their own 2 feet. I don't know. We used to be taught to stand on our own 2 feet. They just never talked about money. I don't see that today with the regular middle class. I see that with the higher end people. But what about taking care of America and changing the way the economy works? That's why I have this book. I'd like to see a million copies sold before the end of the year. Because if people know the basics of money, think about the changes they'll make in their lives. And Tara and Lisa and Joel and Katiana, there will not be enough of you to teach all the people that will want to make the change. Any other questions? David, Ethan? Ethan also works in the insurance policy world, also an attorney, and he's got 5 kids, so he's taking care of all of them. Okay. No other questions? Any comments from any of you? Did you put your information in the chat so people get a hold of you? That would be really important to do. We would love for people to get a hold of you and work with you. Because the 4 of you can make such a difference for the millions. Think at least 7 numbers, you guys. Right? Change the world with 7 digits for everyone.
Thank you.
David, any last thoughts?
For me,
Yes.
I think it's a lot of good information.
Thank you. And do you have a counselor, RIA, or
I have,
coach?
yes, I have, my financial advisor of Morgan Stanley. I
Mm.
have a tax advisor through my family's company. So,
Well, Morgan Stanley will not offer you real estate or being a lender or any of that.
right. But I don't buy or sell properties. All I'm basically doing is getting the buyer and seller together type
Yeah,
of
well,
thing.
you could invest in real estate. You could invest in self-storage and be a partner with somebody else.
Right, right. But right
Well,
now I don't have the money to do that because
how do you know? If you're with somebody else, you don't need a whole lot of money
well,
necessarily.
that's true. But I'm still learning on that. So not saying that I
Happy-
won't do that.
We're all happy to have that conversation with you. All right. So did everybody put their information in the chat? Do you all know how to save it? Go to the 3 dots and save like that. So thank you everyone for being here. We're so thrilled you're here. And
Thank you.
we're going to send this out and put it on YouTube, and we'll send you the link.
Thank
Thanks
you
so
for
much.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Nice
Thrilled
to
to
meet
have you.
all of you.
Yes,
Thank
great
you.
meeting all of you too.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.